Worsens dramatically in Michigan, and Metro Detroit becomes one of the nation's virus centers, and hospitals near the breaking point. And the nation is in the middle of a massive experiment on working from home. How does it, well, work? Today is Sunday, March 29th, 2020, and this is Flashpoint. All right, welcome to Flashpoint. We're going to get right to it this morning on the coronavirus crisis. Yesterday, we saw the biggest single-day jump in cases yet in Michigan, and we're getting close now to 5,000 cases in our state. A really strong barometer of where we are, the announcement that the auto show planned for June has been canceled, not because of worries over the event itself yet, but because TCF Center is being converted into a field hospital to handle the expected volume of patients. I want to start this morning with the latest from Governor Whitmer, who's going to be appearing on Meet the Press right after Flashpoint. Here's what she had to say a few moments ago.
Our numbers are climbing exponentially. We knew it was a matter of time, not if, COVID-19 would come to Michigan. We took aggressive measures. We've been on the front end of aggressive measures that states have been taking, but we see this astronomical rise. We've got hospitals that are already at capacity. We're running out of PPE as well. I'm grateful we got a shipment from FEMA yesterday for 112,095 masks, but, we're going to be in dire straits again in a matter of days, and so we are keeping up the pressure and working 24/7 at the state level, and grateful that there are people who are doing that at the federal level as well. But this is not something that we should be fighting each other on. It should be everyone fighting COVID-19, everyone versus COVID-19.
More of that interview coming up here on Meet the Press. Now let's turn back to the hospital situation, which she mentioned. Very happy to have with us this morning Bob Riney, the Chief Operating Officer of Henry Ford Health System. Bob, I know, I've known you for a long time. You have, I have to imagine, never seen anything at all like this.
Good morning, Devin, and you're absolutely right. I've been in healthcare now 40 years, and we've been through a lot of challenges, but nothing that has the complexity that this COVID-19 crisis has brought to us.
Yeah. Give us an update here on where we are at capacity across the Henry Ford system, which of course is one of several in our area.
Most of our Henry Ford hospitals reached capacity yesterday, and we are working hard with our colleague health systems, both in Southeast Michigan and outside of Southeast Michigan, to make sure that we can take care of all of these patients. But the volume surge that we've experienced in the last 3 nights and that we anticipate will trend at least for the next week is something that is just relying on us using every ingenuity we can to make sure that we are treating all our patients in a safe and quality manner.
I know right now a lot of this is conjecture at this point, and it's not safe even to try to make projections, but you mentioned at least the next week. Do you have a sense of where we might be on the curve?
We believe that we have not hit the peak yet, but the peak is near. And then how fast we can start descending off that peak is really something that's still the subject of a lot of predictive analysis, but we're nowhere near out of this crisis by any means.
Well, this news of turning TCF into a field hospital, basically, we've talked about a number of other facilities, 2 dorms at Wayne State, the Pistons practice facility. But Bob, it's one thing to find space to put people, it's another to find the manpower to handle it and all of the systems, the logistical systems that need to go into place. How ready are we for that part of moving beyond our hospitals?
I think that's our biggest challenge, Devin. As you articulated, these patients are very complex and they're very sick, and they require not only incredible clinical talent, but the equipment to support those clinical teams. And most of our hospitals could squeeze out more physical capacity to accommodate additional patients, but we don't have the human talent capacity. Our teams are just working at such a stretched pace. And so we're all working right now to see whether we can tap into healthcare workers from other states that aren't experiencing this kind of surge. I saw that Delta announced today that they would fly healthcare workers to Michigan for free.
Yeah.
If they are coming in. We're looking at how we can tap into every resource. We're moving our clinical staff that have been working in non-hospital settings into support our hospital care. But keep in mind, that's not a one-for-one, because many of them haven't worked in an inpatient setting for a while, so they can support our core team, but they can't replace those incredibly talented nurses and physicians that are there on the front line every day.
Have we got even a handle yet on what that manpower need is going to be yet, or is that changing day by day?
It's changing day by day, but if you look at the capacity in most of the hospitals in Southeast Michigan now and the ability to stretch that capacity, we're talking about a need for hundreds, if not thousands, of additional medical workers.
Have we been able to get a handle yet, Bob, on why Detroit has become a hot spot? I believe the 5th highest number of cases in the country at my last check. Have we got any sort of thoughts on why that's happened?
You know, there's a lot of speculation, and, you know, one of the theories is that we're such an international hub and we had lots of people coming and going before the extent of this virus was really known. There's another assumption that we're a region that has a lot of underlying chronic health conditions, which complicates the ability to recover. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think there's going to be an incredible amount of information that will come from thorough analysis on what formed a hotspot, what didn't form a hotspot, and most importantly, what are the lessons that we've learned so that, you know, God forbid, if we face something like this again, we will be far better prepared.
Yeah, well, yes, there was the playbook on this coming out of it is going to be massive, no doubt. I had wondered if it had anything to do with the fact that it got into the police department. Once it got in there, that would seem to be a pretty fair point from which to spread it around.
Well, there's certainly truth of the fact that, you know, those that are in work or in life that have done a lot of socialization in big crowds that may have carried the virus and not known it could have spread that. So first responders are certainly, you know, a concern, but there are really a lot of theories, and I think we'll learn a lot more down the road.
I wanted to talk about your people that are working on the front lines on this. We've all now seen nurses doing sort of first-person testimonials on social media, and some of it is just crushingly sad and what they're trying to deal with. Talk a little bit about what you've seen from your folks.
Well, first of all, I'm not sure I can talk about our team members without shedding tears, because I'm just overwhelmed with pride, as is our entire executive team, over these heroes that we see on a day-to-day basis. And I was actually thinking this morning that hero is just actually too short of a word. We need to find a way that really describes the actions that they're doing. And I think one thing that people forget is, while they're heroes, they're human beings, and they are dealing with the same life challenges that everyone else is, the same fears and anxieties, the challenges, you know, in their own family lives, and they're having to put that aside and, you know, 16 hours a day focus exclusively on taking care of patients. And the other just incredible emotional impact that they're dealing with is that these are patients that can't have a loved one by their side. They can't have a family member holding their hand because of the infectious nature of this. So if you can imagine the additional emotional work that they are taking care of for both the families and the patients, they're just extraordinary people. And when all is said and done, I hope that we find meaningful ways as a community to show them how much we value and appreciate them.
I sure hope so too, and that points to the fact that a lot of these folks families can't have funerals right now in the way that they would like to either. Bob, I so appreciate the update. I know you're working your tail off. Bob Riney, the Chief Operating Officer of Henry Ford Health System. Thanks so much, Bob, and stay safe.
Thank you.
All right, now back to the auto show announcement. A massive disappointment on so many levels as the city was moving the event to summertime. With me now, Jason Stein, publisher of Automotive News. Jason, first off, the loss of this event now, we don't know how long it'll be before we finally get it back, but talk overall about losing this event again.
Well, losing the event again is indeed a problem for the auto show, because it will be 29 months between the last time that we saw the Detroit Auto Show and the next time. The auto show was already suffering in terms of the media play. Wasn't so much of a consumer problem. You know, they were still drawing 750,000 people every January to see cars.
Then what is it? I don't even want to think about what this means for all of the hotel and restaurants, that situation, which have been doing without this and just went through a very dry winter without it being there in January, and now that it's not even on the calendar. What does it mean for the industry to not be focusing at least once a year on the Motor City?
I think that the industry is going through a transformation anyway. You've already seen the Frankfurt Auto Show last year was suffering in terms of its media attention, the number of launches. The industry is trying to find its footing when it really comes to auto shows, because automakers are really finding their own way to do things.
Yeah.
Whether it's gathering dealers in their own spaces or launching on their own terms, launching virtually. Auto shows are in a tough place in general, and this doesn't help to now go almost 30 months without having this Detroit show.
Yeah, that's tough. Let's talk about the industry in general. Nobody is going out right now and kicking tires and buying cars. Workers are staying at home. Ford is talking, I think, optimistically about trying to start the plants back up again in April. But give me your thumbnail on where you think we are.
I don't know. Some people have described this as being in a fog. You can't see what's coming at you. You can't see where you're going. You can't see anything around you. And for automakers, dealers, suppliers, they're all in a fog. They can't predict when they can come out of this. And indeed, nobody is going into showrooms, and dealers are losing money at a rapid clip. We know stores are closing. Talked to one guy last week who was losing $100,000 a day as a car dealer. I mean, you've got obviously some folks who, if they're over leveraged, they're just going to have a cash flow problem. But suppliers also are getting a bit of a pickup in Asia Pacific, but for the most part in North America, there is no pathway here to figure out when this is going to clear up.
Yeah, and this, we're watching this footing where they're trying to get the automakers to work on making ventilators, but this is a very strange division that is broken out between the White House and General Motors and Mary Barra. Can you kind of take me through where we are on this? It's very strange.
Well, GM was already had a plan to make ventilators. They were already well underway. How and why this fight erupted, I have no idea. This war of words for a couple of folks who had really kind of come to a better place. I mean, Mary Barra and Donald Trump. But I think GM was really caught in a bureaucratic trap, and ultimately also got caught in a different kind of trap, if you will.
Yeah. Well, in fact, and when we watched Ford being described, their behavior the other day was described at the White House as patriotic, and that wasn't what we were seeing from General Motors. This is a really weird thing. What do you suppose is the long-term outlook then for just trying to get back to, and I know we're in a fog, but where does this leave an industry after they've already had a bailout, of course, that was very controversial? Now we've got some stimulus money going into the economy. Where does that leave the auto industry right now among so many fighting for survival?
Well, the auto industry is okay right now in certain pockets because it's well capitalized. Different than 08 and 09, where there was a real cash problem for now. Yeah. So given the fact that there's strong cash on the balance sheet, you see that Ford and GM have drawn on some loans now, lines of credit. For now, Devin, I would say that the industry is okay, but we've got to come out of this fog in a hurry.
Let's hope so. We'll just keep driving straight ahead and hope there's a clearing. Jason, thank you so much for taking us through a number of these issues, and stay safe.
Thanks, Devin.
You bet.
Same to you.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the impact of working at home, which so many are doing. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.